Next, just a few questions. So, number one would be about your church itself. Like, how long has your church been in existence?
Okay, 139, almost 140 years.
Okay,
And
I knew it was extensive. I didn't know
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, 140 on November 9th. We'll be celebrating 140.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah, crazy, right?
So how long have you been in your seat as the executive pastor?
Just over five, what? Yeah, just over 5 years. That's crazy. Yeah,
And were you on staff with the church before jumping into that position?
yes. Was on staff for 3 years before that in a director of next gen role.
Gotcha. Okay, so to give people context, so we've been a partner with you guys for a year, like
Just over a year. Yeah.
right at a year. Your accountant was taking her dream job, right? And
Correct.
so we walked through that transition with you guys, and since then, you've gone through one or two fairly large construction projects in the past year.
Yeah, well, one very large one. And
Okay.
then with our rebrand, we've put up new signage and built a history wall that is for there. And then we're in the middle of also a acoustic sound project in our traditional worship space. So
Okay. So, like, what was the challenge that you were facing that led you guys to say, "Hey, we need to do something"?
yeah, so the biggest one is our new garage slash workshop, outdoor workshop. We knew so all of this is done because of a road, a planned road going in. So we knew as soon as Tower Terrace went in, which we've known since 99 was going to go in, that kind of pulled a bunch of pieces. So it's really all predicated by this road.
So we're going to hit two or three or four questions here, kind of in a would you rather scenario,
Perfect.
in hopes that anybody who's jumping into a facility project or is considering one or is halfway through one, they have somewhere to go to say maybe you guys experienced something similar to this. So when I was an executive pastor, I had one executive pastor that was in town that I could ask questions to. And everything else I learned with good old Google, right? Like what do people do if? And so like that's the hope here. So first off, let's do this. Around scope. So would you scope of the project itself? So my question is, would you rather have to stick to the scope of the original concept that you talked about way back when and have zero meetings involved, or get the project that you got, but have to sit through 20 hours of meetings?
I sat through 20 hours of
It
meetings.
might be more if it started back in.
Yeah, so like the original design of this building that we eventually put up was done probably 15 years ago and just set on the back burner. But when we were knew this would really come up to fruition, we had to have all the right people on board, right?
Mhm.
So we had our men's mowing team that would be using the building, our facilities guy would be using the building, our productions team would be using it to build set. We have a large living story, a thing in our parking lot at Christmas, and we needed light storage and those kinds of things. So you had to get all the right people on board. We also needed to have, I was not going to have the time to be the project manager. And
Mhm.
so I think the most important thing was finding the right layperson to take the project over that I could trust, that had experience doing it, and that he was very willing to take on even some of the hard conversations between, say, the Mo team and the Prairie Garden team that had different ideas of what they needed, but he
Mhm.
was had skills in that area to be able to talk with people about that. So that was important.
Yeah.
Um, I think because we sat through those meetings, though, everybody was on board. Not everybody got what they wanted, but everybody understood why we got what we got. And
Yeah.
so I we could not have built the building that they had planned 15 years ago anyway, because costs were so different. And it's not the building that people foresaw, I think. They wanted it to look more like the church itself, which is brick and all of that. And we didn't build that. We
Mhm.
built like a garage, a workshop, which is
Mhm.
what the purpose is. And so also being able to help congregation members that had something in their head be able to know that. And that team did go and present to our church council. So I guess that's part of that 20 hours of meetings, is being able to have, but we had our lay leaders do that.
Hmm.
So our project manager came in and brought in the plans because they knew that as part of this capital appeal, that money was designated to go there. So the council was part of that. And we had to do that. So I would say 20 hours of meetings.
You've
I
been
don't know
there,
if
done that.
I don't know if that's a happy thing to say, but I think it's a necessity
Yeah.
when you're dealing with other people's money.
So be ready for it, right? Like there's no
Yep.
way to scope a project without lots and lots of time. Okay, let me ask this then. Any mistakes that you made or any advice that you give around scoping a project for somebody who's considering a project or is in the middle of one?
The right people need to be in the room for those meetings.
Hmm.
So, if you don't have individuals that can look strategically and maybe have only their focus, we did have one individual that we had to invite off the team because just could not wrap his head around um, where we were, and it was very frustrating to him when he didn't get exactly what he wanted.
Hmm.
But that's not what this team was doing. This team was putting together the whole project, right? And
Yeah.
kind of going, what do we all need um, for the building, knowing we're all not going to get it. And our building did not turn out the way we wanted to. We actually had three sections in mind, including the workshop, the garage, and then this pavilion near our playground was the dream, and we had to lop off the pavilion. We didn't put that on because we didn't have enough money, and we
Hmm.
were wanting to make sure. But that was really early in the process that we knew that's not going to happen. Um, so we were able to quickly turn. But it's also important to have people who know what they're doing, right? So we had people involved with construction there that when we were going and looking at these different types of buildings, I don't do that every day.
Sure.
So needing to have people who do that every day be able to kind of interpret what's being said.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. In fact, like my next one is around like management and timelines. And the question was going to be based on what you know now, would you rather manage the project yourself and save, fill in the blank 100 grand or whatever, or bring in an expert who could stay on track, on budget, or at least help guide you guys? And it sounds like you took the latter and are super happy with
Yep, I
bringing.
took the lighter, but I didn't pay him anything, right? He was a partner of our congregation.
Oh, wow, even
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, he was a partner of our congregation who was newly retired and was a plant manager, so managed people and managed a large facility. So he is had the people skills as well as the know-how to get it all done, and had plenty of time because he was
Hmm.
retired. People joke that he should actually be on staff the amount of hours he spent here, because it's that amount of hours.
Right.
Um, he's here every day. He was here every day while the project was going on. We also used the Amish to put up our building,
Hmm.
so trying to think of what was going to be most cost effective. So he did project manage it, rather than having a contractor hired. We did
Hmm.
manage, but I didn't project manage.
What
I
would it
had
have looked like if you did? I mean, the amount of hours that you would have spent in addition to your normal.
I couldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Couldn't have done it. I would have, um, if you don't have the option of someone else to project manage, I mean, in your congregation, I would pay to have it done because there's no way I would have been able to have the time to do that with my other responsibilities.
Yeah. No, I think that's all. And I would say I bet 75% of the churches that we talk to attempt to manage it themselves, if nothing else in the beginning, until they
Right.
see, especially like you said, the things that are very specific to whether it's construction or fill in the blank. Like these are things that we don't know. Like, you know what I mean?
Yep. And I was definitely the facilitator of the meetings. I was certainly the holder of the budget,
Hmm.
right? Um, Anytime things were being spent, I was definitely that person. But the day-to-day interacting with the people out there, making sure all the right permits are pulled, all of that kind of stuff, that was all done by our lay person who was overseeing the project.
Yeah, that's awesome that you had somebody in-house that could. jump in and do that though. That's
His wife says we now need to come up with the next project for him.
I get that. I have a retired father and I hear that quite often.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk around financing and funding and that type of thing. So the example that I threw out here for a $2 million project, would you rather fully fund the project before the project can even start, or begin it ASAP and carry a note for 10 years? I know you, so I know what you'll say, but what's your preference?
Well, my reference point is we've been carrying a mortgage since 1999 on our main facility.
Hmm.
And we are like at, I think, like $300,000 left. And what it has done is completely, um, it feels like it's just been holding us down.
Hmm.
So we're all feeling very excited about getting towards the end of this. I would not do 20 years with
Hmm.
how I would manage a large project. In this case, we weren't going to do it without the money in hand. And it wasn't a $2 million project, right? It was a $500,000 project, so we could
Right.
do. But I think there's a balancing act when it gets there. I think there it needs you reasonable,
Hmm.
but making sure that you have that capital project that you're not going to lose out on keeping your lights on if you're trying to run it through your budget. So I'm a little more concerned. I like having the money in hand.
Right.
I went before I build something, but I do recognize that there are times that you might need to take out a loan to do it.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys are sure I feel like facility projects are never actually done. Like there's always little things that, we
Hmm.
need to repaint this or whatever. But for the most part, I would say that you guys are done. And as you look back on that project, really, really two things. Number one, I would love to hear a mistake that you guys made that you would not want to repeat again. And then just something that you're really, really glad that you did, that you absolutely would encourage anybody else doing something similar, that they need to do this.
Okay. So a mistake we made is before we started really getting into our numbers, we had gone on the assumption that we would be, I mean, we're zoned residential or whatever here. It was a small building. It was not a big building. It's just a shed. Well, when we went back to get our stuff from the city, everything had to be commercial and had to be changed. And so, like, we even have an ADA shower, I mean, which we won't ever really use, but
Sure.
because of we put it next to our big building, we had to change all of that. And so, one of those things was just kind of making sure some of those little pieces were done.
Mhm.
So I mean, that's the thing is there are some mistakes in there, but then we also saw God show up in ways that we weren't anticipating because we were ready to get out our pens, look at line items, say
Right.
what can actually change, and really glad we didn't have to do that.
Mhm.
It was really, really good. I think that what I would want to make sure everybody did, oh my goodness, when they do their project be ready for it to take more time than you want it to. I mean, I guess it's going to take time. It's going to take time. There's going to be people issues as much as there's going to be project issues.
Mhm.
And just working with people through because you have so many, most of the time, you have so many people who have an interest in the building,
Sure.
right? And it's other people's money. You're working with the congregation's money. So then lots of people believe they have a say in how things can be done.
That's awesome. That's great advice.